Happy Friday. You're welcome. You're welcome to First Mover. You're welcome. Your first global look at today's action in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital asset space. I'm your host, Christy Lee. And joining me is my co-host, CoinDesk managing editor of Global Capital Markets, Lawrence Lewitinn. It's been a long week, Lawrence.
And it's Friday. It's Friday. You're done. You're done. It's okay.
Yes, give me that at least. All right. Let's check in on Bitcoin right now. What's that?
You look all cozy in that hotel in ETHDenver. How's that going?
It's going well. We'll get into that after it. All right. Let's check in on Bitcoin right now. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XVX index is at $40,433. Bitcoin is retreating about 4.4% over the past 24 hours. The CoinDesk Ether price ETX index is at $2,902. Bitcoin or ETH also tracking losses about 3.4%. The DFX CoinDesk DeFi index is at 286. DeFi retreating about 5.4%. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data. So yes, I am at ETHDenver, and it's been a long couple of days. I mean, there's build all week long, and then they're, just talking to a lot of folks, noticing a lot of developers switching from Web 2 to Web 3, really interested, and it's been a lot of fun, Lawrence. What's going on with the markets?
It hasn't been able to recover from yesterday's sell-off. It's really just been sitting flattish. I mean, to be sure, there hasn't been another sell-off, but it is Friday, thinner markets on over the weekends, even in crypto land. So while we see the equity markets, global equity markets kind of flattish or so, who knows with crypto, because there's always it's been this thing where they always have these crazy moves because someone puts in an order on a Friday afternoon, which is what we saw last week. So, brace yourselves. Who knows what this weekend will bring?
All right, some choppy waters ahead. Also, just speaking to folks in terms of VCs, what they're looking at, they're big on DAOs. There's a trend or they hope that corporations will DAOify, which is an interesting concept. And gaming is really big, which is related to our next guest.
The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem.
Yeah, as Christine said, you can't talk about crypto without talking about gaming. Data from CryptoRank shows that nearly half of all the activity on the blockchain is now related to gaming, and more wallets are connected to gaming than to DeFi. So who better to discuss all the aspects of gaming and crypto than our next guest? Joining us now to discuss is crypto markets. The crypto markets is Bobby Zagotta, CEO of Bitstamp USA, and Jordan Sherman, CEO of Immortals. Welcome, Bobby and Jordan.
Great to be here.
Thanks. Thank you. Well, thank you. First off, we got to talk about the crypto markets just for a little bit. Bobby, we're seeing a sell-off in today in the past 24 hours or so. What's going on? Why are we where we are in the doldrums?
Yeah, understood. My take on this is macroeconomic, right? There's just the inflationary concerns, the interesting sociopolitical stuff going on around the world is keeping people a little bit conservative in their posture. However, I think it'll be short-lived.
Yeah, volumes have been down compared to a year ago. Is that drop off? Is it related to any one geography or one type of customer or another? What do you see from your perch in an exchange?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. The demographics are definitely changing in terms of participation, meaning there's just a broader and more diverse array of participants today that we're seeing in our Bitstamp marketplace versus a year ago. However, in terms of size, meaning just the numbers and the volume per customer, it is muted versus last year. Last year, of course, being a historic time, first and second quarter. So I'm not concerned at all about this. In fact, I think the price of Bitcoin is showing some pretty remarkable resilience in the face of all the uncertainty that I mentioned a minute ago.
Jordan, let's have you jump in. So you have a partnership with Bitstamp. Tell us a bit about that, and it's big, eSports.
Yeah, so my name is Jordan Sherman. I'm the CEO at Immortals. We own and operate professional video game teams, which means we have some of the best video game players in the entire world across games such as League of Legends and Wild Rift and Valorant that play on our team. And we compete in leagues against other teams, and our matches are live streamed on Twitch, on YouTube, and are cut and shared across social media. And we recently announced a partnership with Bitstamp, and a lot of things really came to fruition. But what we're finding is this incredible convergence between the gaming market and the crypto market in terms of who our demographics are, who our players are, who is interested in learning about both at the same time. They're showing a little screen here of our players and the announcement video that we did with League of Legends. We did a little tongue-in-cheek about how some other crypto markets were announcing their partnerships. And it's gone really well so far. We're really happy to have such a credible partner such as Bitstamp working with our players and creating activations for our fans.
You know, Bobby, you would almost say that this is, some could say it's FOMO, that you're sponsoring an e-games team when you had all these crypto exchanges advertising during the Super Bowl. What do you think makes this different than those kind of advertisements? How do you see the synergy? Do you think it's a better move, for instance, than paying Larry David a chunk of money and having him do what were really actually very funny commercials?
Yeah, look, I think Super Bowl ads and naming rights on stadiums is a credible, if expensive, marketing strategy, but that's not us. Bitstamp is really about communities and contributing to communities and helping to grow communities. And what's happening in the esports world right now is so reminiscent of the crypto world 2 or 3 years ago that we just want to be a part of it. We want to support it, and then we want to be a part of what we think will be the next great growth story.
Awesome. Bobby, I have another question for you. And this is regards to, we saw with the Bitfinex hack, there's some concern or speculation that it might have been socially engineered. Bitstamp had a hack as well that was socially engineered. So I wonder what kind of safeguards have been put in place since then, and would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. And that's going back to 2016 for us. And there's been an awful lot of work in progress since then. For sure, from an infrastructure and from an organizational standpoint. But in addition, we provide a lot of financial safeguards, including insurance for our users, so that they obviously should trust the platform, but they should also have a second line of defense, if you will.
So Jordan, getting back real quickly to the question I had about the Super Bowl, how do you see this? I mean, esports has become such a big thing. Kids are loving it more, it seems, than physical sports. Where do you see your place now in Gen Z, et cetera? Do you think it's that demographic? It's a growing demographic, or are you finding adoptions happening in the older demographics, such as us ancient Gen Xers?
I think it's really interesting to see that this is a different demographic, and they're consuming media in a different way and expecting a lot more from companies that maybe we expected from them in the 90s or early 2000s. So for us, as we look at, okay, there's all these other crypto companies doing XYZ, what we want to do is really show up and provide tangible benefits to the community. So for example, we have a League of Legends team, and along with Bitstamp, we're doing a trigger promotion where when we get first blood, which is the equivalent of like a first goal in soccer or in hockey, new users who sign up on Bitstamp who invest $25 get $50 in Bitcoin. So showing a trigger promotion where, okay, this is actually something that's real, that's tied to a game that I love. And if it happens, I, as a fan, get a direct benefit. Another thing we're doing is we're bringing Immortals Invasion, which is a pop-up, a multi-day pop-up that has gaming events and experiences in different neighborhoods in a city. We're bringing that to Chicago this fall and creating this Bitstamp experience where people from the crypto space and from the gaming space can meet in real life for a celebration of gaming all throughout the week. that happens to coincide with the League of Legends World Championships, which are in North America and are going to be one of the biggest esports events in the history of esports. So what we're kind of trying to show is if you're a fan of crypto and you're a fan of gaming, or even if you're learning, there's real things as part of this partnership where you can either win Bitcoin or show up to physical events and be part of this community. And that's where we think we can win, by taking this partnership and developing real tangible benefits that say, oh, we've actually made this community better. We made esports better. We've made it more interesting.
All right. We got to wrap it there, but congratulations on this new partnership. Looking forward to seeing how it develops. That was Bobby, as well as, pardon me, it was Jordan. Thank you. It's a long week. All right. Joining us from Bitstamp, as well as Immortals. Okay. Coming up, we're going to be talking to the latest blockchain interoperability project to reach unicorn status, Axelar. Let's have a live look at Bitcoin right now. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XVX index is at $40,425. Bitcoin retreating about 4.3% over the past 24 hours. The CoinDesk Ether price ETX index is at $2,895. ETH also tracking losses about 3.8%. The DFX CoinDesk DeFi index 286, sliding down over 5% for the day. All right. When taking a look at Rekt Database's top 5 DeFi hacks, they all happen to be interoperability projects. We see Polygon Network, $602 million hack, Wormhole, over $300 million hack, BoyX High Speed, $140 million hack. Joining us now to discuss is Sergey Gorbunov, CEO and co-founder of Axelar, the latest blockchain unicorn in the interoperability space. Good morning, Sergey. Thanks for joining us. So, just off the bat, is it a coincidence that the top DeFi hacks are interoperability exploits? Is interoperability too buggy for prime time?
Well, I think, it's important to understand that I think with any on-chain activity, there are risks, right? And it's no different than DeFi in the early days, where we saw a lot of attacks and a lot of vulnerabilities being exploited in the space. I think interoperability on its own is still in the early days. And it is a complicated technology. So I think it's not a surprise that, we're seeing some of the attacks. I think that being said, it is a solvable problem. You just have to think of it very carefully and approach it in a thoughtful way, as we're doing at Axelar.
All right. And you guys have a big announcement. You're a universal blockchain interoperability network, and you've just raised $35 million. Tell us a bit about that and where you hope to allocate the funds.
Yeah, so, I think we've seen a lot of demand for interoperability over the last year, right? And I think that's going to continue to grow as the space grows. And so the funds are going to be used to continue scaling the project, continue supporting more integrations, building out the team, and, of course, paying attention to the security, right, of all the interoperability protocols and everything that we're building. Pretty excited to continue working with the developers and scaling this uniform interoperability stack that we're building.
So, Sergey, as Christine has brought up, these big exploits happen on DeFi, and my question about stablecoins is this: are they making things unstable rather than stable, or is it vice versa? What can be done essentially to protect things, to prevent these kind of iron and titan situations that we had, and all the likes, where you have exploits, you have all sorts of market things click in that create instability in the marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to exploits and things like that, I think you have to look at what has worked well in the space, right? And I think the only things that have worked well to achieve strong security and robustness of any system or solution is achieving strong decentralization, right? And achieving simple and uniform designs, okay? And, that's certainly kind of direction that we took at Axelar, which is making sure that whatever we're building is, universal, and at the same time, it's decentralized at the core. The more you can open the system, the more you can allow external parties to participate in it, modify its rules where needed, add to the security of the overall solution, the better you end up. And that's what we have seen over and over in the space. And, that's the way that I think about it as well.
One of the controversies around bailing out the wormhole exploit situation was that it was viewed as a form of bailing out Solana, and that it ultimately means that it's really more centralized than people are giving it credit for. Do you think that's the case? Do you think that you have these large venture capitalists who are coming in to protect their investments by bailing out certain platforms when it's needed, and that's making things more centralized rather than decentralized?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, I think no matter what, I think you have to be thoughtful about these things and thoughtful about security, right? Whether or not your approach is to rely on a centralized party or on a decentralized protocol and governance. I think the key is to prepare and think about these things in advance before they happen, right? Same thing as in DeFi, kind of before you ship in any product, you better do your homework and do the audits, right? And allow more eyes to look at it. And same thing with interoperability. Whenever you're shipping something, you have to be thoughtful about it. You have to do audits. You have to think, what are the insurance or what are the protocols you can put on-chain or off-chain, to protect against those types of, vulnerabilities. And, it's up to individual projects to decide whether or not they have a centralized, fallback mechanism or decentralized, right? And I like I said earlier, I think, decentralized security and decentralized approaches work the best in the industry so far.
So Sergey, considering all those factors you just mentioned, how does Axelar differentiate itself from other interoperability projects such as Polkadot, Cosmos?
Yeah, so on the very high level, Axelar is a universal overlay network that securely connects applications, users, assets to deliver Web3 interoperability, right? And what we have designed is really a universal platform that allows to connect very different ecosystems that speak different consensus rules, different software stacks, and connect them in a uniform way, which is one of the key pieces, right? By allowing uniform connectivity and uniform routing across the networks, we can, minimize the attack surface. We can minimize, any issues that could come up at the protocol layer. At the same time, allowing it to scale and support more and more ecosystems down the line. And another key point, whenever you're talking about interoperability, is to being able to allow developers and users to interact across different ecosystems in an easy way, which today is not really the case. Whenever we're talking about, a lot of the solutions, we're talking about very painful user experience, which also has to be solved if we were to deliver interoperability. And that's something we're focused on Axelar as well.
Yeah, Sergey, of course, everyone wants to believe that their projects are useful for every industry out there. But are there any specific industries that you are focusing on in terms of marketing and working with to make it to adopt it?
Yeah, I mean, early days, definitely DeFi is where we're seeing a lot of demand from, right? So the basic problem is that any DeFi or any application that's built on top of a single blockchain right now lives in an isolated world, right? And so, but it wants to distribute its usefulness or its assets to all the other blockchain ecosystems, right? And so that's where we're seeing a lot of demand, and I think we're going to continue seeing over the next year is allowing composition and allowing distribution of applications that are built on one blockchain to communicate and compose with all the other blockchain ecosystems. And it is a big use case. It is allowing everybody to tap into shared liquidity, right? Which is currently is not the case. If you living on Solana, you're isolated and you're living with the liquidity that's mostly kind of resides on Solana, which we want to solve.
All right, Sergey, thanks for introducing us to Axelar. Looking forward to seeing how the community grows in the future. That was Axelar CEO Sergey Gorbunov. All right, coming up, more interoperability talk with Polkadot and checking in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor, Nick Day.
Hey, I'm Isaiah Jackson, host of Community Crypto and author of Bitcoin in Black America. You're watching CoinDesk TV?
Well, welcome back. Time to check in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor, Nick Day, who is also the editor of CoinDesk's The State of Crypto newsletter, which you should all be subscribing to right now. Hello, Nick. Happy Friday.
Good morning. It's been a heck of a week.
Indeed. And who better to close out the week than the FBI? They're apparently launching a new crypto crimes unit.
Yeah, so this was announced yesterday by Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, who previously announced that the DOJ itself was launching a crypto unit. The FBI will now have a crypto investigations unit, basically looking at using blockchain analysis and other tools to not only try and figure out, what needs more investigations, what types of crimes, whether there's exploitation going on, ransomware, etc., but also how to, seize funds, which honestly, we've heard feds have had, not much issues seizing billions of dollars worth of crypto, so perhaps not absolutely necessary. But yeah, it's going to be, it seems like an escalation of their efforts to just keep up with crypto, and maybe a further sign that federal officials do see this industry as something that they have to keep an eye on.
What do we know about this new crypto czar, Yoon Young Choi?
So she does have experience working in the FBI's cybercrimes unit, and she's been counsel to Lisa Monaco for I think the last year and a half or so. So she comes in with a fairly strong background in exactly the type of criminal activities that might lend itself well to studying crypto activities and crypto crimes. And ransomware in particular has been kind of a big thing over the last 2 years, and what we're seeing now is the FBI is looking closer to try and tamp down on this kind of activity.
So, well, I was just going to say that there's also stuff going on, from FBI to RCMP, things going on in Canada, and I don't want to cut our Canadian out here necessarily, but nonetheless, there has been movement in the past 24 hours with some of the crypto wallets, correct?
Yeah, and also just this morning, we just reported this, but a Canadian judge has just ordered some 120 crypto addresses to be frozen as part of, these were part of fundraisers for the Canadian trucker convoy, and a judge just ordered them yesterday to be frozen pending, an examination and explanation of what these funds are for. This is part of a private lawsuit in addition to the RCMP's work.
Wow. That is certainly a developing story that CoinDesk will be tracking. Thank you so much, Nick, for your insights. That was CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Policy and Regulation, Nick Day.
The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
Polkadot is all about interoperability, enabling cross-blockchain transfers of any type of data or asset. Polkadot is the 13th largest cryptocurrency by market cap. And earlier at ETHDenver, I had a chance to ask Shawn Tabrizi, lead developer at Polkadot, about vulnerabilities and their latest series of auctions. Have a listen.
As you mentioned, Polkadot is all about the multi-chain future. We want to make it easy for new blockchains to interoperate, connect, communicate with each other. And the way that Polkadot works is we have the Polkadot chain, of course, but then also a bunch of other blockchains, which we call parachains, which are connected to Polkadot and get all the ability to communicate, work together, and actually build a cohesive multi-blockchain future. So in order to get a slot onto Polkadot, you basically kind of have to prove yourself to the community and get people to back you. We could call these crowd loans. And through crowd loans, the community can actually pick and choose their favorite projects, what they think will help innovate the Polkadot ecosystem. And then through the crowd loans, they win these auctions and they get a slot as a parachain on Polkadot. And again, once you get a parachain on Polkadot, you have access to basically be part of the Polkadot ecosystem, run a blockchain, get the shared security and value from Polkadot, but also communicate and work with other blockchains. And this is really the beginning of what we think a multi-chain future will look like.
That's interesting. So what are some of the winning projects?
Right. So the example of a few teams is Akala. Akala is a set of DeFi primitives designed exactly on the blockchain. So rather than having a bunch of smart contracts which do DeFi, you can actually build these protocols at the core blockchain level. We also have Moonbeam, which is an Ethereum compatibility layer, allowing you to launch and run EVM smart contracts just on the Polkadot ecosystem, just like if you're running on Ethereum. We also have other platforms like Kilt, which is doing identity management and trying to push forward other parts of the Web3 ecosystem we don't quite see as much, which is like decentralized identity solutions, right? So these are just a few example of teams. There's been over 10 teams on Polkadot, over 20 teams on Kusama, which is our Canary network. There's a lot of things going on.
It sounds very foundational in the beginning, which just goes to show how early we are in the space and how it's developing. Another topic I wanted to broach, just talking to you, it reminds me of the wormhole exploit that happened recently, where a hacker identified an exploit between an Ethereum and Solana bridge and was able to just reproduce lots of Ethereum out of thin air, and had to have the parent company, Jump Capital's, come in, and I suppose
they
stop
all the
gap
money,
the 300 million that was taken.
Exactly.
So what lessons did we learn from that in terms of, are blockchain bridges vulnerable?
Right. So again, I think we are approaching, cross-blockchain communication from a lot of different levels. There are existing systems and existing bridges that are coming out, and Polkadot itself has its own protocol. We have something called XCM, which is a cross-chain messaging system, and XCMP, which is a protocol for actually sending the messages. And this is basically like an instant bridge for any parachain that joins. Like for free, you basically get a bridge to everyone else. So when we see things like other bridges getting hacked, it's obviously something that we take a very close look at and make sure that, what are the vulnerabilities there? How can we learn and make sure that this doesn't happen on Polkadot? We've been taking our own kind of multi-layer approach to doing things. We have actual test networks. We have Canary networks like Kusama, and then we actually have Polkadot itself. So before anything actually gets to Polkadot, we already put it through rounds of other testing in other incentivized networks. And so ideally, if there were any problems, they would happen at lower levels. But additionally, we also get all of our code audited, and we work closely with all these teams to make sure that everything is running smoothly and that there aren't many issues. So I would say that we learn from mistakes of others. We understand kind of the sensitivity of the space, but we have a kind of a multi-faceted approach to making sure that this doesn't happen to us. But I will say this: I don't point fingers at any team that is innovating and making mistakes along the way. That everything we're doing in the space is new. Everything is interesting. It's amazing that we have open source software so that people can find and call out bugs and actually get rewarded for that. And I think that we should celebrate people who are innovating and pushing the boundaries rather than pointing at, oh, you made one mistake. Everyone makes one mistake, but it's all about the fact that they made a mistake because they were pushing the boundaries of what is possible. And I think that's what we're trying to do also at Polkadot.
That's a very positive outlook. I love it. But, I found that Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, suggested perhaps that these cross-chain bridges are perhaps a little too dangerous. Is that
so
vulnerability extensive?
So let's talk about that. Polkadot. The issue with any type of cross-chain bridge system is you have one consensus system, like one blockchain, basically trusting another blockchain that it will behave correctly. You can imagine you move some Ethereum to another blockchain, then that blockchain does something weird, mints a bunch of it, or deletes it, or steals it, and that interaction is still like a trust in a trust-free world that we want to build, right? Polkadot solves some of this by having the relay chain and being able to accumulate all of the different blocks of the parachains into a finalized state. So in Polkadot, if you have assets being moved across different chains, you can guarantee that the state of those chains doesn't change from underneath people. That if there's one blockchain to kind of revert or go back, all the chains have to revert and go back. So with this, you actually get a kind of a more secure type of cross-chain interaction than you would get. But yeah, I think that bridging it's not an easy problem to solve. And I think Vitalik is basically calling out the fact that there's still a lot to learn, and we should be questionable of the exactly how much this can do and how quickly we can get there.
in terms of privacy, that's an increasing subject in the crypto space now that we see in countries like Canada, they're blocking certain addresses, blocking finances to certain people. In this case, truckers who are leading protests against COVID restrictions. And I understand that you are also playing around with privacy features.
Yes.
So tell me a bit about that.
Yeah. So I think privacy is a very fundamental part of this ecosystem we're building. I think privacy is coming at the right time. Bitcoin and Ethereum wouldn't have existed if we had to go through all the challenges of building privacy layers around it. But now that we have these systems that are working, adding privacy is a natural next step. Polkadot is very, very incentivized to give privacy layers to ensure that users can use the products in the ways that they want. We even have this Polkadot Pioneers Prize where we've actually just allocated $15 million from our treasury in order to innovate ZK and other zero-knowledge stuff in the Polkadot ecosystem. We have some chains, even parachains, which are dedicated in investigating and actually working on privacy stuff. For example, Manta, which is a ZK knowledge layer on top of Polkadot. I think that we will start to see things like governance and identity really become a powerful tool once privacy is there, and they're just waiting for the technology to come to maturity. So we're going to be helping push that forward for sure.
And now that you've been here in ETHDenver for about a week, what excites you most about what you're learning here at ETHDenver?
I think the most exciting thing about being here is just seeing how many people, we're in a room that's just chaotic right now. There's just a ton of people. And
a lot of energy.
And you have people from all different, walks of life. People who are just learning about this stuff, people who have been programming it for years, right? And that's super exciting. I think that we're really just seeing, how useful this technology is to everyone. I think beyond that, DeFi is the hot word of this whole ecosystem. But I think what's really nice is you actually see a lot of these talks are talking about blockchain beyond DeFi, Web3 beyond DeFi, and that really is the next natural step. DeFi is a great kind of a conduit for bringing a bunch of people in here, getting them excited, getting the money in, right? But the Web3 future we want to build, DeFi is just one aspect of it. And I think that I'm really excited to see how excited people are to innovate in the other areas.
So in 2020, they said that was the year of DeFi.
Yeah.
In 2021, NFTs. What is 2022?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, in my viewpoint, it's all about the multi-chain future. It's all about getting this cross-chain communication working. But I think that it could even be something about the DAOs. DAOs are really hot right now, right?
I'm hearing that a lot.
So it might 2022 might be all about DAOs and voting and understanding how you can make governance in these, trustless systems.
All right, that was Polkadot lead developer Shawn Tabrizi at ETHDenver. What'd you think, Lawrence?
I'm having. Hey,
we can't.
Sorry about that.
We can't hear each other. But
I can hear you now.
We'll be going back to
I can't hear you
ETHDenver
because that was such
today.
an energetic
Check it out,
interview.
all about ETH at 1 p.m. Mountain Time and 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Some of the talks I'm looking forward to include Kimball Musk. We'll be talking to him. He's the brother of Elon Musk. We're going to just generally on the schedule today, we have Vitalik on the keynote address. We have the governor of Colorado, Jared Polis, who we interviewed earlier on the week. So it's going to be a fun day. All right, that's it for First Mover. Thank you, Lawrence Lewitinn. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Meantime, check out The Hash at noon Eastern and all about ETH. As I mentioned, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 3 o'clock Eastern, live in Denver, Colorado. You're watching CoinDesk TV. Also, next up, stay tuned for the daily forecast to see what's happening in the Asia crypto markets.
Friday morning saw Asia waking up to a sea of red in the crypto market. But why? Welcome to the Daily Forecast, February 18th, 2022. I'm Megha Chadha of Forecast, covering all things blockchain. Bitcoin took a tumble overnight Asia time, leading a market-wide downturn. But what's driving it? We'll take a look at the market action and a whole lot more coming right up. Let's get you up to speed from Asia to the world.
Join thousands of NFT traders who already start their day on CryptoSlam.
Metaverse is the big theme around Asia today. First up, Hong Kong's first metaverse-themed exchange-traded fund, or ETF, is due to be listed on Monday. CSOP Asset Management says its metaverse concept ETF will invest in companies either directly or indirectly involved in technologies that contribute to the metaverse development. It's not the first such fund in Asia-Pacific region, however. 4 metaverse ETFs were launched in South Korea back in October, raising $100 million in just 2 weeks. Seems like people just can't get enough of the metaverse right now. So how about trying to date in it? The Indian dating platform Mingout is on the case, arranging a virtual date for 2 of its users in a moon-based setting. Mingout hopes the experiment will begin a dating revolution in India, making it more accessible, fun, and immersive. The platform is hoping the metaverse will prove a natural next step, following on from over 1,000 virtual dates it helped set up over the past year, with physical gatherings restricted because of the pandemic. You can find those stories and more at forecast.news. Over in the markets, it was not a pretty picture Friday morning in Asia, with Bitcoin losing almost 8% overnight. Forecast's Lachlan Keller takes a look at the market action.
Military tensions between Russia and Ukraine continue to drive uncertainty across markets, with the US warning over a false flag operation being a possible precursor to an invasion. Concerns over interest rate rises are also lingering as investors await the outcome of March's Federal Reserve meeting. There's also uncertainty here in Asia, with the potential for a citywide COVID testing and tough restrictions in Hong Kong as case numbers soar. Bitcoin led the crypto sell-off Thursday night Asia time, and it was left trading at $40,466 by Friday morning. Other major tokens, including Ethereum, fell a similar amount, while decentralized finance darling Terra was one of the biggest losers, trading down as much as 12%. Tech stocks also took a tumble, with the Nasdaq Tech Sector Index closing down 4.2%. Industry watcher Justin Danathan of Amber Group told Forecast he expects more pain to come in the weeks ahead. However, on the flip side, he says that with prices low, it's a good opportunity for new and eager investors to enter the space. For Forecast News, I'm Lachlan Keller.
Digital payments giants Visa and MasterCard changed the face of international payments decades ago, allowing tourists to just swipe their way through their travels instead of carrying numerous foreign currencies. The ease of transaction, whether international or domestic, was a key to their mass adoption. So looking at the crypto world, would cross-chain interoperability be just as instrumental to digital currencies going mass market? In the hot seat, Adrian Brink of Anoma joins in to chat about this and all things disintermediation. Good to see you again, Adrian.
Glad to be back.
Adrian, there's so many different cryptocurrencies and chains out there, but traditional cash and banks still dominate. So what's the holdup for real-world, broad-based adoption of crypto?
I think people really underestimate how far along crypto on the technology side is. I think we're talking sort of internet 1995 right now. This is somewhat masked because there are public valuations associated with a lot of the crypto ecosystem. But really practically speaking, it's very, very early days. But it's starting to change. So I think sort of until like 2015, we didn't have Ethereum. And then in 2017, 18, 19, a bunch of more chains came along. And I think we're going to see this Cambrian explosion of actually chains that become real world use cases. So I think it's a matter of time, but I think we shouldn't be annoyed or sad about not being there yet, because it's just very early from a technological standpoint.
Well, like you said, most of the currencies have come about in the last few years. Would you then say cross-chain interoperability is the key to scaling up crypto as a bankable means of payment?
I think so. But I think it's important for people to understand that currencies and underlying settlement layers or underlying blockchains really aren't married to each other. I think the newer wave of chains will just see that assets like Bitcoin flow into their chains, into other systems that offer different kind of feature sets like very fast instant confirmation payments. And I think this is really going to unlock the value of cryptocurrencies. For example, that you can take a USDT and do a private payment with this on a system like Anoma, this is where interesting things are starting to happen and where you can really start thinking about end user adoption.
And what barriers do you see to achieving this seamless movement across the various digital currencies?
Yeah, I think the biggest hurdle and bottleneck actually lies in being able to build trustless bridges between these systems. I mean, last week we spoke about Wormhole, which is a distributed but by no means decentralized or trustless bridge between multiple blockchains. And really having decentralized bridges is going to unlock a lot of potential because people are going to be a lot more comfortable moving over them. And I think alternatively as well, but this again just takes time, is end user merchant-like integrations. I think we're going to start seeing this happening more and more in 2022, 2023, 2024.
Well, we are going to need to build those trustless bridges to take the digital world to the next level. Thanks as always, Adrian. And that's the Daily Forecast, bringing you the biggest blockchain stories Monday to Friday from right here in Asia. For more, visit forecast.news. I'm Megha Chadha. Until next time.